There we go.
Okay, so text 32. Go ahead and read. Can you see it?
Yep.
Okay, read the translation and the purport.
Thus, seeing the disturbance of the general populace and the imminent destruction of the planets, Arjuna at once retracted both the Brahmastra weapons as Lord Sri Krishna desired. The theory that atomic bomb explosions can annihilate the world is a childish imagination. First of all, the atomic energy is not powerful enough to destroy the world. Secondly, ultimately, it all rests on the supreme will of the Supreme Lord, because without his will or sanction, nothing can be built up or destroyed. It's foolish to think that the natural laws are ultimately powerful. Material nature's law works under the direction of the Lord, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. The Lord says that the natural laws work under his supervision. The world can be destroyed only by the will of the Lord, not by the whims of a tiny politician. Lord Sri Krishna desired that the weapons released by both Drowning and Arjuna be withdrawn, and it was carried out by Arjuna at once. Similarly, there are many agents of the all-powerful Lord, and by his will only can one execute what he desires.
You know, I like they says, tiny politicians.
Yeah.
They're so tiny, they think they're so big with their atomic weapons and everything. Like Trump and Kim Jong-un, North Korean guy. And they're like, it's like a pissing match, basically. Who has
No
a better,
doubt.
bigger button, and Trump was saying, my button's bigger than your button. They're just children, and they're playing with nuclear weapons. You got to have some, like in the Bay of Pigs and crisis. This was like 1963, before your time. But we had some good politicians and good secretaries of state in the government at that time, and that crisis was averted because, Russia had put nuclear weapons off the coast of Cuba, and that was the Bay of Pigs crisis. And somehow or other, because everybody had a cool head, they averted that crisis. But you can't destroy the world. It's kind of like seeing a movie. Like if you watch a movie and there's like another season in store, the guy's not going to get killed, right, in the plot. Yeah. So similarly, this Lord Chaitanya's movement is supposed to last for another 10,000 years. And so at least that's going to happen. If you take advantage of that, then you'll be okay. I mean, there's always a catastrophe in the world. There's so much stuff going on. It's so miserable. But the thing is, because nothing can happen without the will of the Lord, if it doesn't matter if the devotee is killed, what's the worst thing that people can do? They can't kill the soul. So, why should we worry about it,
Right.
Okay, so text 33. Arjuna, with his eyes blazing in anger, like two red balls of copper, dexterously arrested the son of Gautami and bound him with ropes like an animal. Gautami is Dronacharya, that was his martial arts teacher. Dronacharya was the father of Ashvatthama. Purport.
Yeah.
Ashvatthama's mother, Kripi, was born in the family of Gautama. The significant point in this shloka is that Ashvatthama was caught and bound up with ropes like an animal. According to Sridhar Swami, Arjuna was obliged to catch this son of a Brahmana. There it is, a son of a Brahmana. That stupid son of a Brahmana. Like an animal, as a part of his duty, dharma. This suggestion by Sridhar Swami is also confirmed in the later statement of Krishna. Ashvatthama was a bona fide son of Acharya and Kripi. and he was a Brahmana. Dronacharya was a Brahmana, but because he had degraded himself to a lower status of life, I mean, he killed all of Arjuna's sons, all the Pandava's sons in their sleep.
Yeah,
He beheaded them all.
that was brutal.
Yeah. It was proper for him to treat him as an animal and not as a Brahmana. Go ahead.
After binding Ashwasthama, Arjuna wanted to take him to the military camp. The personality of Godhead Sri Krishna, looking on with his lotus eyes, spoke to Arjuna in an angry mood. Both Arjuna and Lord Sri Krishna are described here as an angry mood, but Arjuna's eyes were like balls of red copper, whereas the eyes of the Lord were like lotuses. This means that the angry mood of Arjuna and that of the Lord are not on the same level. The Lord's transcendence, and thus he is absolute in any stage. His anger is not like the anger of a conditioned living being within the modes of the qualitative material nature. Because he is absolute, both his anger and pleasure are the same. His anger is not exhibited in the three modes of material nature. It's only a sign of his bent of mind towards the cause of his devotee, because that is his transcendental nature. Therefore, even if he is angry, the object of the anger is blessed. He is unchanged in all circumstances.
Yeah, that's what it means to, when it says he's absolute. Like everything that Krishna does is perfect. And even if he's like, like when Balaram, Krishna's brother, and he went into Mathura, they're just like they're acting like a couple of juvenile delinquents. They're just roaming around, and they saw that washerman who he had dyed cloth, and he asked the washerman, he said, "Can you give us some dyed cloth? You'd be rewarded if you give it to us." And he said, "What are you?" The washerman was angry. "This is for King Kamsa. You can't have any of this. I'll tell the king, you'll be punished." And so Krishna got angry with him, and he cut off his head with his hand. He just gave him a karate chop. And then he took whatever he wanted and then, distributed it to all his coward boyfriends and went on his way on his sightseeing tour to Mathura. And, but everything he does is perfect because his anger and his pleasure is the same. And so even if he kills somebody, that's a blessing. If he kills a demon, the demon gets the same blessing as as a devotee, like Putana. Putana was the witch that tried to kill Krishna when he was a little baby. He put him on his lap, and she had smeared her breast with poison. And Krishna drank from the breast, and then he sucked out her milk and the poison and her life air at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but then she got the same position as his mother in the spiritual world, because she treated him like a child, and she got that liberation. That's pretty amazing. It's like whatever you interact with Krishna, you just get a good result. Okay, text 35.
Mm-hmm.
Lord Krishna said, "O Arjuna, you should not show mercy by releasing this relative of a Brahmana Bandhu, for he has killed innocent boys in their sleep." Purport: the word Brahma Bandhu is significant. A person who happens to take birth in the family of a Brahmana but is not qualified to be called a Brahmana is addressed as the relative of a Brahmana and not as a Brahmana. The son of a high court judge is not virtually a high court judge, but there is no harm in addressing the high court judge's son as a relative of an honorable justice. Therefore, as by birth only one does not become a high court judge, so also one does not become a Brahmana simply by birthright, but by acquiring the necessary qualifications of a Brahmana. Just as a high court judgeship is a post for the qualified man, so also the post of a Brahmana is attainable by qualification only. The Shastra enjoins that good qualifications are seen in a person in a family other than that of a Brahmana, the qualified man has to be accepted as a Brahmana. And similarly, if a person born in a family of Brahmana is void of Brahminical qualification, then he must be treated as a non-Brahmana, or in better terms, as a relative of a Brahmana. Lord Sri Krishna, the supreme authority in all Vedic religious principles, the Vedas, has personally pointed out these differences, and he is about to explain the reason for this in the following shlokas. Go ahead.
A person who knows the principles of religion does not kill an enemy who is careless, intoxicated, insane, asleep, afraid, or devoid of his chariot. Nor does he kill a boy, a woman, a foolish creature, or a surrendered soul. An enemy who does not resist is never killed by a warrior who knows the principles of religion. Formerly, battles were fought on the principles of religion and not for the sake of sense gratification. If the enemy happened to be intoxicated, asleep, etc., as above mentioned, he was never to be killed. These are some of the codes of religious war. Formerly, war was never declared by the whims of a selfish political leader. It was carried out on religious principles free from all vices. Violence carried out on religious principles is far superior to so-called non-violent.
Yeah, like, you know who Gandhi is, right?
Yeah.
Gandhi based all his non-cooperation with the idea of the Bhagavad Gita was a non-violent treatise, but it's not non-violent at all. Krishna wanted him to fight.
Yeah.
So to say that non-violence really means enlightening people in Krishna consciousness, because if you don't do that, then you're actually committing violence. So that's what the definition of a non-violence is in the Bhagavad Gita. Non-violence means not sharing Krishna consciousness. If you have it, if you don't share it, then you're committing violence to other living entities.
Yeah. Prabhupada said that being a politician and whatnot it requires violence. It's implied in the job. So it's all through the process.
So you have to
It's like Gandhi doing what he did is like trying to cook without fire. It just doesn't work like that. He said he's rascal number one. What happened to him? He was preaching nonviolence in the field of politics. So what happened to him? He was killed by violence.
Yeah, I know. I mean, he wrote to I read the letter that Prabhupada wrote to Gandhi before he was killed. Prabhupada warned him. He said, look, if you stick with this politics stuff, you're going to get assassinated. He warned him. And he said, but he didn't respond. He didn't talk to him, and of course he was killed. And so you can tell, you can tell what's going to happen. A person like Prabhupada, he was a follower of Gandhi in his college days, but he was trying to beg him to, you read the Bhagavad Gita, read it like it is, and try to apply it in your leadership role as millions of people followed him. And if he would have taken that up, but he was attached to his own method of doing things and using the Gita for his own political purposes, and that didn't work. And ultimately, he was killed because of that. But all right. So, translation: a cruel and wretched person who maintains his existence at the cost of others' lives deserves to be killed for his own well-being. Otherwise, he'll go down by his own actions. Yeah, I'm not going to read this whole thing because we don't have that much time left. We'll start there again in the next time. But
sounds good.
It's like capital punishment. They say in the Manu Samhita is like the law book for mankind. It was written by Manu. Manu is one of the first progenitors of human species. Hence the name man comes from the word Manu, who is like the first progenitor, the first created being who created all the other living beings, you know, so that's where the word man comes from.
Cool.
So he put the law books at the beginning of creation, and it says if you murder somebody, you should be murdered because, or you should also be killed, because if he's not, then he'll have to suffer even more in his next life. But if he's killed in this life, if he's found guilty, the only problem is, like in this judicial system, it's really kind of a gray area, you know, you really don't know if he's guilty or innocent. But if he's definitely guilty, then he should be killed, because then he'll have to suffer less in his next life. He'll get that punishment, and then he'll be relieved from further suffering.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank
No
you.
doubt.
Yeah, do you have any questions? We've got less than a minute here.
No, thank you. I appreciate you having this platform. Very helpful
Okay, well, thank you,
and
and
enjoyable too.
have
We
a
love
good-
it.
yeah, well, maybe we'll see you next week, and Krishna willing. Hare Krishna, Zannu.
You love Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
What do you say?
Like Krishna.
He
Hare
said, "I love
Krishna.
Krishna."
Do you love Krishna? I love Krishna too.
Me too. Honey Bo.